read it, then I'll come back and read Joel, so you can see that they're the same. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 17 again. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams.
And your old men shall dream dreams. Now that's Acts chapter 2, verse 17. Peter explaining what was taking place was being fulfilled, what was written of in the book of Joel, which I'm going to come back and read right now. Chapter 2 and verse 28. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. So he's almost verbatim. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy.
And that's what was taking place. The prophets, the Most High poured His Spirit on them, and they were prophesying. And they were prophesying in all the tongues of the people and all the languages of the people that were there. Now I'm going to read verse 29. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 19. And I will show wonders in heaven above, and signs in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke.
Now, he said vapor of smoke, but in Joel it said pillar of smoke. In other words, it's the same thing. It's going to be smoke and blood and fire. I'm going to read it as is. So it says, verse 30, and I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 20. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before that great and notable day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass, that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved.
Go ahead.
You men of Israel, hear these words.
Now listen to this. That's what Peter just said. He just finished it up. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before that great and notable day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Then Peter came back and said, who was talking to? Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Now I'm going to go back and read what it said in Joel. It says, the sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. Then it tells you in the Old Testament, for in Mount Zion, which are the men of Israel, for in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord hath said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call. So it's showing you what was taking place in the book of Acts, with the apostles being able to speak in all those different languages, tongues as it's written, but then we know that it means languages, was a partial fulfillment. In other words, the Christ hadn't come just yet, but the Most High poured His Spirit out, and they began to prophesy, and that was something. When it said whosoever, we just read it in Joel and here. So when you read St. John chapter 3 and verse 16, when it says whosoever, it's talking about whosoever out of the nation of Israel, whosoever out of the people who this book was written to anyway. Whosoever out of the people who the Lord died for anyway. Whosoever out of, like it said, Esau was the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. Whosoever out of Jacob. Matter of fact, now we're going to go to Romans chapter 10. We're going to get it again. Romans chapter 10, and we're going to start off in verses 11 through 13. Verses 11 through 13. And the Old Testament prophecy of that is Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 16. Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 16. But you had Romans, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and start that at verse 11.
For the scripture saith, whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek.
Yeah, now we already went over that. When he said there's no difference between the Jew or the Greek, he's talking about the Greeks who have been Hellenized. There's no difference. Matter of fact, I'm going to step away. I'm coming back. I'm going to get the dictionary. I want to reiterate that. from the dictionary. It's the Zondervan. Read verse 11 again, brother.
Verse 11. For the scripture saith, whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed.
Read on down.
For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek.
Now I'm going to show you what it means when it says there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek. I'm going to go to the term here is going to be Greek or Grecian. I'm going to show you. And it's going to say, okay, Grecia, Grecians. It says Grecia is Greece, the home of the Hellenes. Greeks and Grecians, however, are to be distinguished. Greeks, what we just read here, there's no difference between Jew and Greek. It says Greeks are generally those of Hellenic race. Now we got to go to the term Hellen, H-E-L-L-E-N, or sometimes E-N-E. In other words, of Hellenic race, we got to find out what that is saying, and you're going to find out they're Israelites. A-C-G-H. Okay, we got to go to the term Helen, and we're going to read that. Okay, here it is, Hellenist. It says non-Greeks who spoke Greek. When it says non-Greeks who spoke Greek, it's saying a person who isn't a Greek who can speak Greek. We're going to show you a Hellenist. You want to go to Acts real quick? You know, Acts chapter 21, verse, what is it, 37? Hellenists, non-Greeks who spoke Greek. A term used specially of Jews who made Greek their tongue, and with it often adopted Greek ideas and practices. So when it says there's no difference between Jew or Greek, it's saying an Israelite who never departed is no different from an Israelite who departed and became, quote, Hellenized or Greek, you know, Greekized, so you can understand, Hellenized, and then was converted back to their own culture. Now we're going to show you one of the more prominent people of the New Testament could be considered a Hellen. Not because he adopted Greek practices, but because he spoke Greek. You there?
Yeah.
Read it.
Acts 21.
Verse 37.
And as Paul was to be led into the castle,
It's talking about the Apostle Paul. Go ahead.
he said unto the chief captain,
Paul spoke to the chief captain. Continue.
May I speak unto thee?
He said, can I say something? Can I have a word with you? This is Paul talking to a captain that was arresting him. Go ahead.
Who said, canst thou?
Who said? That's how it's written. It's a question. In other words, the captain was taken by surprise. Who said that? Who said? Go ahead.
Canst thou speak Greek?
Canst thou? He said, well, you can speak Greek. This dude, this Greco-Roman soldier was amazed. He was shocked that Paul could speak Greek. Go ahead.
Art not thou that Egyptian?
Art not thou that Egyptian? Aren't you that Egyptian? He thought that you could prove number one, Paul was black, because the Egyptians were black. There wasn't no question about that 2,000 years ago. But even after the Renaissance, that's where the questions are at. But it says, art not thou that Egyptian? No, he thought Paul was an Egyptian, but when Paul spoke Greek, it threw him off. Go ahead.
Which before these days made us an uproar, and led us out into the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers.
In other words, he thought Paul was an Egyptian that was known for leading a band of 4,000 murderers. Go ahead.
But Paul said,
But this is Paul's reply.
I am a man which am a Jew of
I
Tarsus.
am a what?
I am a man which am a Jew of
He
Tarsus.
says, I am a Jew of Tarsus. And when you look up on the map, we showed you this in the previous episode. Tarsus is a city that's in Cilicia, which was a province, a Greco-Roman province in the old Greco-Roman Empire that will be located today in in the south part of Turkey. All right. So he says, "I'm a Jew of Tarsus." Go ahead.
A city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city.
He said, a citizen of no mean city. In other words, of no average city. In other words, Paul said, hold on. No, I'm not that Egyptian. I'm a Jew. But I'm from